now the EU is actually getting a little bit closer to the Chinese logic. The EU says, wait a minute, consumers, it's just someone maybe sitting in their home, like they don't have access, they should not have to call a lawyer, they should not have to collect evidence. Something bad happened, there's been a damage. This proposal says that they have the right to request information, and the burden of proof relies on the suppliers, on the sellers' shoulders, okay, on the distributor, the importer, etc., etc. And if the seller does not provide evidence that the product is safe, that the product is fully compliant, and so on and so forth, that they tested it according to these technical standards, and so on and so forth, if they don't provide this evidence, the product is presumed to be defective. These are the words, and I see Clive is nodding his head, right? These are the words from the proposal, right? And this is very strong wording, I feel.
Yeah, let's have a look at what it actually says here. And this is all preemptive action. It says, before placing the product on the market, the manufacturer shall ensure manufacturers carried out an appropriate conformity assessment. If the product has been placed on the market, corrective actions should be taken such as to bring the product into compliance. The manufacturer shall draw up a technical documentation and affix the relevant labels and marking, including an example, a CE marking, and fulfill their traceability obligations. The manufacturer's contact information, the display of the type, batch, serial number, and product identifying number. The product is accompanied by the relevant instructions and safety instructions, if required, in a language easily understood by the consumer and other end users according to the rules of the EU country to which it is being imported.
And just as a note for the listeners who may not be familiar with that, in the EU, when they say the manufacturer, they mean the company that puts their logo and their brand name and everything on the product. If there's no mention that the manufacturing company is this company in Shenzhen, blah, 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 then by default, the importer who brought the products on the market and put their brand and everything on the product, or the brand, or maybe the brand company, which might not be the importer, they are the quote unquote manufacturer, right? So
there is a section which allows for that to happen. Which is that if the manufacturer is unknown, then the last point of contact in the packaging information shall be deemed liable, which is exactly what you just said.
Yeah. Somebody's going to be on the hook.
Yeah. The other side of this one is it also, by looking at objective one, which is safety, they are actually now trying to coordinate. Very much remember when we talked about medical products, we were talking about the market surveillance that you needed to do to maintain the product. They've actually brought this into liabilities here. So the coordination of market surveillance and informants actions on product safety with regards to Directive 201/97 EC shall improve customer accountability enforceability.
So in a nutshell,
your product labeling. Yeah.
Yes, they're really tightening things up. They're making things more obvious. So it's very clear. It's much easier, let's say, for any party, such as a consumer, to bring a case in front of a court somewhere in the EU, start the process, and get somebody involved. Right? So they can find someone to sue, basically.
Yeah, if you remember, when I said that they were actually going to have all of these compliance centers set up in various EU cities. Okay, basically, the way that I read this, that you would be able to actually either use an NGO, report it to an NGO, or you would be able to go to yourself, like the Consumer Protection Society that is in the UK, for example. They will then demand access to the technical file. Failure to provide that technical file is an admission of that the product is defective.
And just to clarify also, the technical file or technical dossier or whatever it's called will include the information about the producer, will include the bill of material, the drawings and other information about the product itself, and of course the test reports and factory certifications or audit reports, risk assessment about the product, and declaration of conformity. That's going to be required also because of the new general product safety regulation coming into play next year. So all of that is going to have to be in a technical file, right? So there's a lot of information they can get their hands on, and they can really dig deep into it and see if maybe somebody forgot something.